Coming up on today's show, Hurricane Melissa barrels toward Jamaica as a Category 5 storm. The nation's largest federal workers union demands Congress end the shutdown. And Airbnb's cracking down on Halloween party houses before the weekend. Plus, you won't believe what an AI camera mistook for a gun at a Maryland high school. And here's today's trivia question. What fictional human has been portrayed the most times in film and television? It's Tuesday, October 28th, and this is the Flyover Podcast. Welcome to the Flyover Podcast, taking you above the noise for an unbiased, high-altitude view of today's headlines with daily coverage that's honest and refreshing. Let's cruise the news and land the facts. Hello and welcome to the Flyover Podcast. I'm your weekend host, Amy Hess, filling in for Ayla Brown today. It's hard for me to believe this is actually the last week of October. I mean, are the calendar pages flipping themselves now? The older I get, the more I'm convinced time really does fly. Speaking of flying, let's get ready for takeoff. Hurricane Melissa has intensified into a Category 5 storm and is expected to make landfall in Jamaica early Tuesday, bringing what officials warn could be Earth's strongest storm of the year. The storm is forecast to deliver up to 40 inches of rain, hurricane-force winds over 160 miles per hour, and a storm surge up to 13 feet along the southern coast. Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness has issued evacuation orders, while the U.S. Embassy advised Americans to shelter in place as all major airports have closed. Cruise lines, including Carnival and Disney, have rerouted ships to avoid the storm's path. Melissa will move toward Cuba Tuesday night and the Bahamas by midweek. If you want to follow this story for live updates, we have it linked in the show notes. Meanwhile, the largest union of federal employees is urging Congress to end the government shutdown, now entering its fourth week, sending a sharp message aimed at Senate Democrats. American Federation of Government Employees President Everett Kelly demanded the passage of a clean, continuing resolution to get more than 1.4 million federal workers back on the job, many of whom are currently without pay. Kelly called the standoff a national disgrace and said federal workers aren't looking for a partisan spin, they're looking for the wages they earned. AFGE has over 820,000 federal and D.C. government workers across nearly every agency, and the shutdown, which began October 1st, has left hundreds of thousands furloughed and other workers without pay. And finally, Airbnb is ramping up efforts to prevent unauthorized Halloween parties in the U.S. and Canada by utilizing its anti-party technology to block potentially risky reservations. The system evaluates booking details such as length of stay, distance from the guest's home, property type, and timing to flag potential party setups, especially for one-night stays in large homes. The company says it blocked over 44,000 bookings during Halloween weekend in 2024 and has seen party reports drop 50% globally since it began enforcing stricter rules in 2020. This year's Halloween crackdown is part of a broader effort following a deadly 2019 shooting at a California Airbnb rental. Since then, the platform has permanently banned party houses, introduced a 24-hour safety line, and offers noise sensors for hosts. Now let's see what's making headlines in politics. President Trump received a royal welcome on Monday in Japan, the latest stop on his 5-day trip through Asia. Trump announced deals with 4 Southeast Asian countries during the first stop in Malaysia. Back here in the United States, Indiana Governor Mike Braun on Monday called a special legislative session to consider redrawing the state's congressional map, though it's unclear how much support the redistricting effort will draw from GOP legislators. Meanwhile, across the globe in Moscow, Russian President Putin signed a law formally withdrawing from the plutonium management and disposition agreement with the U.S., according to a decree published on October 27th. The agreement obligated both countries to dispose of 34 tons of weapons-grade plutonium. And the U.S. military faced a tense moment this weekend. Two U.S. Navy aircraft, an MH-60R Seahawk helicopter and an FA-18F Super Hornet fighter, went down in the South China Sea in separate incidents Sunday, according to the U.S. Pacific Fleet. All of the crew members were successfully recovered by search and rescue units. Now, here are some podcast extras just for you, our podcast listeners. First up, a wild mix-up at a Maryland high school. An AI security system mistook a student's empty Doritos bag for a gun and triggered an armed police response. It happened at Kenwood High School in Baltimore County. 17-year-old Takai Allen was just waiting after football practice when 8 cop cars pulled up to the school and pointed guns at him. School officials say the alert was already canceled before police arrived, but confusion caused the confrontation. The AI, made by a company called Omnalert, scans camera footage for weapons. The company says it functioned as intended by flagging something for humans to check. Now local leaders want a full review of the tech and how communication broke down between the school and police. So here's a question for you. Should schools use AI to help spot weapons, even if there can be mistakes like this one? Let us know in the comments. And if you want to see the video of the incident, we've got it linked in the show notes. Next, millions of Americans are about to lose food benefits. The USDA says no federal SNAP payments will go out on November 1st because of the ongoing government shutdown. That hits about 42 million people who depend on food assistance every month. The Trump administration says it won't tap $5 billion in backup funds and blames Senate Democrats for delaying a deal to reopen the government. Democrats are pushing the Agriculture Secretary to use those funds to avoid chaos. Some states, like California and Virginia, are stepping in with emergency aid to help residents get by. And finally, deep inside the Swiss Alps, the next generation of astronauts are training to live off-world. 9 students from around the globe just spent 2 weeks inside an old military fortress carved into a mountain, simulating life on the moon. It's part of a program called Asclepius. The dark, cold tunnels were chosen to mimic lunar lava caves, and they followed a strict schedule to test how humans might cope with isolation, darkness, and limited resources. They ate dehydrated food, wore spacesuits for moonwalks, and only left the base at night. One key experiment studied how constant darkness affects sleep and mood, with results that could help astronauts and even night shift workers here on Earth. Want to see what life looks like inside this hidden alpine base? We've got it linked in the show notes. Still ahead, Wall Street's having a strong week with one biotech stock soaring more than 40%. Plus, a major move for TikTok could shift control of the app right here to the United States. And in sports, LSU stuns fans with a sudden coaching shakeup. That and more coming up on the flyover. But first, a word from our sponsor, Cozy Earth. Okay, so those 5 to 9 hours at home in bed now is pure sanctuary. My family's obsessed with Cozy Earth, both their bedding and pajamas. Seriously, it takes comfort to a whole new level. Cozy Earth's bamboo sheets have been a total game changer for me in this season of life, and other sheets, they don't even compare. Temperature regulation at night is a real thing, and these sheets, made from viscose from bamboo, wick away heat and moisture, keeping me cool and comfortable. And I am so excited to try their Bubble Cuddle Blanket next. With its plush, textured bubble design and ultra-soft fibers, it sounds like the perfect way to add some warm family memories. And I've actually already imagined fall nights by the fire with the bubble blanket. It's a way to make home feel like our own little world. I'm already thinking about my Christmas list too. I know some people who would love more than a gift, but a lifestyle upgrade. You can try Cozy Earth risk-free with their 100-night sleep trial. If you don't love it, send it back. But I'm betting you won't. Plus, there's a 10-year warranty for lasting comfort. Head to CozyEarth.com or use our link in the show notes, but be sure to use my code, FLYOVER, for up to 20% off. If you get a post-purchase survey, let them know you heard about Cozy Earth right here on the Flyover podcast, because home isn't just where you live, it's how you feel. Let's go home with Cozy Earth. On Wall Street, the market started the week strong with one biotech stock stealing the spotlight. Avidity Biosciences stock soared 42% after Novartis agreed to acquire all outstanding shares of the company for $12 billion in cash. While that deal grabbed headlines, another one could reshape the tech world. The U.S. is set to finalize a deal to turn control of TikTok over to a U.S. owner during President Trump's trip to Asia this week, according to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. And speaking of big brands branching out, Lululemon has partnered with the NFL to produce apparel and accessories for all 32 pro football teams. The first time Lululemon has offered officially licensed products for the NFL. Meanwhile, all eyes are on the Federal Reserve as it opens its two-day meeting today with an expectation that it will announce a second interest rate cut for 2025 when the meeting closes on Wednesday. All right, let's see how the market closed on Monday. The Nasdaq climbed up 1.86%. The S&P went up 1.23%. The Dow also saw a gain at 0.71%. In commodities, we had a split with Bitcoin moving up 0.27% and gold sliding down 2.74%. But overall, it was an up week, with Avidity being the big stock mover to close with a 42.42% gain. All right, now it's time for sports, where there's been plenty of movement both on and off the field. First, let's talk the AP poll. Ole Miss and Georgia Tech swapped spots on the latest rankings, settling in at number 7 and number 8, respectively. Number 21 Michigan and number 17 Cincinnati rose the most this week, each climbing up 4 spots, while LSU dropped out of the top 25 entirely. Want to see the full poll? We've got it linked in the show notes. But it's not just the rankings making news. Coaching shakeups are stealing the spotlight, too. LSU fired football coach Brian Kelly after a very tense meeting with athletic director Scott Woodward on Sunday. Woodward reportedly told Kelly to fire offensive play caller Joe Sloan, but Kelly wanted other changes, which led to the dismissal of both him and Sloan. And in the NFL, a tough weekend for players as injuries piled up across the league. The NFL saw a bevy of injuries this weekend. Giants running back Cam Skataboo is out for the season after dislocating his ankle against the Eagles, while reigning NFL Defensive Player of the Year Patrick Surtain II underwent testing yesterday for a shoulder injury. Let's take a look at what's happening in science and tech, where innovation meets a few eyebrow-raising surprises. An engineer discovered that his smart robot vacuum was constantly broadcasting a detailed 3D map of his home to its manufacturer's servers, which were located halfway across the world. After he blocked the data collection, the company allegedly used a remote kill command to disable the device. From smart vacuums to smart minds, one new study dives deep into the science of creativity. New neuroimaging research on jazz guitarists reveal that their highly creative flow state is achieved when the brain's conscious control center temporarily powers down. This process allows effortless execution of complex skills, changing the idea that peak performance requires intense mental effort. And for the gadget lovers, Samsung's rolling out something that could change how we think about foldable tech. Samsung is debuting its first tri-fold smartphone this week, marking a major leap in foldable tech. The new Flex G folds inward twice into a G shape, expanding from a 6.5-inch phone to a 10-inch tablet-sized screen. I had to see this phone for myself, and I'm guessing you may want to see it too, so we've got it linked in the show notes. And as we start our descent, let's take a quick spin through our Etc. section. Acclaimed Yellowstone creator Taylor Sheridan is reportedly leaving Paramount for a major 5-year film, TV, and streaming deal with rival NBC Universal, starting January 1st, 2029. From Hollywood headlines to a surprise romance in Paris, pop singer Katy Perry and former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau were photographed in Paris holding hands in public for the first time, allowing the internet to proclaim it an official romance. And finally, a new king of the critters. Chunkosaurus rex, a squirrel from Dinosaur Valley State Park, was crowned the winner of the inaugural Fat Squirrel Week in Texas in an online competition run by the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. Want to see this chunky furball? Check it out with a link in the show notes. Time to turn the mic back over to you. Yesterday we asked, are you intrigued by exoskeleton shoes that reduce fatigue? Here's how you answered. 48% said, no thanks. 34% said, maybe. And 18% said, absolutely. This one was hard for me to answer. I'm not sure I have a good understanding of what exoskeleton shoes even are. I used the link we had in the email version to check it out, and Nike's Project Amplifier straps a tiny motor and battery to your sneaker, like a little e-bike for your feet. It gives a gentle push with every step, so hills feel flat and jogs feel easy. I can see where that would be pretty great, but also, is that kind of like cheating? I don't know. If this case piques your interest like it did for me, I have it linked in today's show notes. All right, moving on. Let's talk about a polarizing subject in my house, mayonnaise. Here's the question for today. What is your taste in mayonnaise? Your choices are plain store-bought, seasoned spicy, Miracle Whip, homemade, I hate mayonnaise, or other. In my house, we definitely have a team mayo and team no. You can vote with a link in the show notes, and we'll have the answer for you tomorrow. Time's up. Here's the answer to today's trivia question. What fictional human being has been portrayed the most times in film and television? The answer? It's elementary, my dear Watson. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, the most portrayed human literary character in history was Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock has been played by over 75 actors in more than 250 productions, including by Basil Rathbone, Sir Christopher Lee, Charlton Heston, Peter O'Toole, Christopher Plummer, Peter Cook, Roger Moore, Robert Downey Jr., and John Cleese. The only other literary character who's been portrayed that many times is Dracula, who, of course, is not human. And that's our landing on this beautiful Tuesday. Thanks for choosing the flyover. We never take that trust lightly. We keep it honest. No spin, just the facts, so you can get on with your day. Join us tomorrow for fresh headlines. As always, thanks for flying with us.